So I want to start off this video with basically apologizing for dragging my feet with this project. I'm a normal guy. I have a normal job. I have a family. I've got 3 kids, another one on the way. I can't devote as much time to this project as I'd like to, and I can't finish it as quickly as I'd like to, but I'm trying, and bear with me guys. I know it's dragging out, but I've got other projects that are done and off my plate. My Yukon, the engine's good. I've been driving it. That's finished. It's out of the way. I can get back to working on the Le Mans. And I'm making this video just to update you as to where I'm at and show you why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Because some of you may feel like this is steering away from the budget, but understand I am not a rich person, and for me to spend any money on this project, I feel it. So any of you trying to do a project like this, don't think I'm a 6-figure household where I can just throw obscene amounts of money at this car, because as you can see up the videos leading up to this, I haven't. Ooh. So could you do it cheaper than what I'm doing? Yes, but I chose not to go bare bottom dollar on everything. There's some spots I chose to spend a little bit more money, and I'm going to show you one of those things here because I feel like in the long run this was a smart choice to do, and other people out there will agree with that. So you could choose to do it my way, the way I'm doing it, or not. It doesn't matter to me. But if this helps, great. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing now, because I really am not a fan of this part of the project, but I'll show you what I'm doing. So I gutted everything electrical out of the car. I removed the gauge cluster, steering column, the shifter, which was for the 4L60. I removed all the wiring because when I did my LS swap, I had bought a 2000 Camaro. I swapped everything over. Computer, like engine, tranny, wiring harness, front to back on that car. And it was a lot. Like that is a lot of wiring. Like that's a mess. I cut out some of the stuff I didn't need from that car, but there's still a lot in this harness that you don't really need at all. And I'm gonna try and sell this to recoup some of my money that I spent on my new wiring. So I'm hoping that with the computer harness, I can sell this. You know, here's your gauge cluster that'll work with all this. The steering column, if somebody wants to build a hot rod or something like that, that steering column, all this and everything plugs into it and it works, including the shifter. If they want to choose to go with an automatic 4L60, this is a 2000 Camaro shifter. Like, they can use what they want, but I'm going to try and sell this to someone else doing an LS swap. And this is why I'm doing it. I bought the Terminator X. Now I didn't get the Max. I didn't feel I needed it for this project. I just bought the Holley Terminator X, the normal one. And there's different versions of it depending on which motor you have. The 903, that is for like LS1 style motors that have a 24 tooth reluctor wheel. So down on the side of the motor, passenger side, there's your crank sensor there. And that's for the, if you have a 24 tooth reluctor wheel, that thing will be black, which mine is. If that sensor is gray, let me just move my light. If this sensor right back here, if it's gray, it's a 58 tooth. If it's black like that, it's a 24 tooth. You need to know this before you buy your harness. Also, the style injector. It's going to ask you what style injectors you have. If it's got a plug like this, it's the EV1s. There's a couple other different styles. You need to know which one you have. It'll ask you. It's got a chart here that shows all the different models, and it tells, you know, it asks, you know, whether it's a 58, ooh, a little fuzzy. It'll ask you if it's a 58 tooth. It'll ask you, or a 24 or 58. It'll ask you the style injectors. You need to know if you're fly-by-wire or cable. I'm a cable. Fly-by-wire, you'll need like the Terminator X Max. I don't need that. But you need to know what you're working with before you order this, because there's a bunch of different kits. My particular kit, again, is, there's the number. It's a 903. Because they also make this kit for not just LS motors, but you can get these things for Coyote motors and like old 5-liter Mustangs and stuff like that. So, very good kit, but you need to know what you have before you buy one of these. Now, why did I do this? Well, this other harness, I took it out of a car that was in an accident. Now, part of this harness was damaged during the accident, and now I gotta try and root through this to figure out where it was. But there was a spot on it in the accident, right here. This part of the harness, look at all the electrical tape. Okay, this wasn't me that fixed it. This was the company I bought the car from, almost like an auto wreckers. They attempted to, they repaired this kind of half-heartedly, excuse me, just to make sure the car ran. And I never really fixed it much better after I got it. That's my fault. And I had one problem at one point, and that's I started the car up one day leaving work, and I was just spewing fuel out of my right side exhaust, and one of the wires, the connection wasn't very good, and it was actually grounding to the body and caused my injector to stay open and basically flooded out my number 6 cylinder. So, but I just unplugged the injector and drove it home, so I didn't hurt anything. But if I'm gonna be racing this car, I don't want to have any more. I don't want to have any problems. I don't want to spend the day, go down to the track just to have stupid wiring issues. So I'm trying to eliminate that by getting rid of all of this and using the Holley setup. Cost-wise, we're talking budget. This here was 1,300 Canadian. It's about $1,000 American for this setup. Factor in, if I was to keep the factory harness and computer, I'm gonna have to buy like HP tuners or something like that, which, you know, for up in Canada, it's like $500-600. So you're already investing quite a bit of money to run a factory harness, which is fine if you want to do that. Me personally, I didn't want to. I wanted to go this route, and there's a few other advantages to it as well. Now, one of those advantages is, if you're ever thinking of, when it comes time to get your wiring for your motor, look up the Terminator X. Read what it can do, because this thing, like, if I went to go buy, let's say, an electronic boost controller, a cheap one is like $300. This thing can do that for you, right? So between HP tuners and a boost controller, you're getting up to nearly covering the cost of this unit. And like, this has your 2-step built into it if you want to use a 2-step. It comes with a screen. You can program stuff. It'll show you a lot like what your dash can do. It'll show you fuel pressure. Like your dash doesn't even show you fuel pressure. This thing will show you fuel pressures. It just does more for you than a factory computer can. And I've just decided this will be a better route to go in the long run. And saying that, I hate wiring, and I'm hoping that this kit is as easy as they say it is. And I actually expect this kit to go in very easy. What I don't think I'm going to have fun with is this other part. I'll show you. Because I had scrapped all the factory wiring for this car and put in the 2000 Camaro harness, and I'm now reverting back to, like I removed it all, now I gotta go back to what this car had originally. I bought a aftermarket harness for this car, which is better than what comes factory in a 68 Le Mans or whatever. And like this actually has a fuse panel with modern fuses in it, whereas the factory one in this car had the little round glass tube style fuses, the really old ones. I'm going to a better setup, right? It's got relays, stuff like that. So more modern, better wiring. I'm not looking forward to this because I hate wiring. It was also recommended that I buy this guy. This is for the alternator. So if you have a newer GM alternator, like I have on my car down there from the 2000 Camaro, that's the style plug for it. And this will just wire into one of the wires that's labeled on the engine harness for the Terminator X. So that was just one little thing I had to buy for it. And then with wiring the car, I've got, you know, loom, shrink tubing, large shrink tubing because I'm running new battery cable from front to back. Grommets for the firewall. This is a terminal that you can stick in your firewall. It's like a lug. It's a much safer way to run your power through the firewall. I'm actually using this in the trunk. Because I moved my batteries to the trunk, I'm going to be putting that lug right here basically to run it, because I got to bring the power through here to a kill switch. I put the kill switch back here because my brother, he took a classic car and did an LS swap and put the batteries in the trunk, and when he went to the drag strip they gave him a really hard time because they told him if you have the batteries in the trunk you're supposed to have a kill switch. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I figure it's a good idea. The kill switch wasn't very expensive anyway, and I got a black one. They might give me grief that it's black, but I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb on the back of the car. So I figure that's a good spot for it. And I got to run new battery cables through the car. And I'm going to show you another reason why I'm doing all this. Back in the day, I had a ton of speaker wire. I used to be really heavy into stereos, and I still kind of am. I mean, that's a stereo I'm putting back in it just for fun. I know weight isn't your friend when racing, but it's still a street car. I'm gonna have fun with it. Years ago when I did my LS swap for the first time, I went and got this car dynoed, and my transmission line that was on the 4L60 was a factory GM style push-in line, and it's got this little steel clip that goes into the plastic bushing to keep the line from popping off. I forgot to put that little wire clip in. While it was on the dyno, it blew the line off, right back in there, blew the line off, shot oil right onto the exhaust, instant fire. And the battery cable, it got crispy. It took the worst of it, really. There was no other damage to the car from the fire. They put it out pretty quick. But this guy got torched. But it didn't show any bare cable, so we left it. But I figured it's time to pull this speaker wire out, which is fine. This is 4-gauge speaker wire. That's nothing. No problem. You can use it if you want. But because it's torched and whatever, I'm taking it out, and I'm just going to run a new cable with this. I got some 2-gauge. I'm going to run that. So this is basically my update. So again, I apologize for this build taking so long and having it been quite a while since my last update with this car. we're moving forward on it. I'm gonna get this done. My next video, I'm gonna actually start putting stuff in. I'm not gonna video every moment of me putting wire in because that's a long video and you don't need to see it all. You know, to do this, you better have some basic understanding of wiring anyway. But I'll show you what I did, and I'm excited to see how easy this Terminator X goes in. And after the wiring's done, we're going to be pretty close to firing this thing up, and I am nervous about that. But I'm excited at the same time. Spring's coming and I want to get this thing on the road. I didn't get to drive it last year and that was a bummer. So we're gonna get this thing done this year, and I gotta get my ass out here and get work done on it for that to happen. So just an update. Next video, I'll have something done, I promise. Next time. See ya.